Hi everyone, and welcome to another thrilling episode of The Dungeon Crashers. I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. Please take a moment and hit that like and subscribe button, and turn on notifications if you haven't done so you don't miss any of our videos.
Today we're going to do things a little bit different, because I'm making characters to play in our next campaign. We're doing a round robin sort of thing, where we each take turns DMing for the group. One player is a star and starts at second level and is a wizard. The rest of us are the wizard's henchmen. And we each take turns being the star and the DM. Zapeel's nephew is DMing the next one, and I'm one of the henchmen. He isn't a very experienced DM, at least not compared to the rest of our group, so I want to make a character that will be interesting and challenging for me to play, but not so OP that it'll be hard for him to DM for. I'm making a character based on a trick I used in our Goddess of Thunder build, Link in the Corner, which combines the Crusher feat with Booming Blade for a little battlefield control. I'm also making it a quarterstaff fighter because I like the style of it.
We're going to be using this build to talk about some things that experienced players do and that new players miss. This is going to be on the surface a simple character. Hit things up close and use Eldritch Blast on things far away. However, it is actually going to be difficult to make it powerful without careful play. It's going to lack high damage output, although it's pretty good. You won't have the great defense or hit points, but it's also still pretty good as well, and is going to rely on limited resources that return on a short rest. So it will need to use battlefield control for defenses and to support the party and careful resource management to make most of its abilities.
Yeah. Battlefield control is basically making the enemy fight the way you want them to, instead of following their plan. Some things like using walls to split the enemy, slow effects or difficult terrain effects to hamper them are obvious, even to new players. But it can be as subtle as controlling their position on the battlefield, making them hard to attack who they want to. We're also going to incorporate some ideas from our Special Forces video, link also in the corner, about using our own position to keep our enemies from attacking us.
Yeah. The other part is resource management. Newer players tend to make one of two mistakes. Either they burn up all their resources, spell slots, hit points, abilities, etc. Early on, leaving them with little left. Later in the game, leaving the party vulnerable or making the DM add a rest for the party before he had intended to, just to keep the party going. Or they conserve their resources too much, not using them when they should, and going into a rest with a lot of their spell slots and abilities unused, and very little damage taken, which means they haven't been helping the party as much as they should. The trick is to make your character effective with abilities that don't run out, so they can spend the resources when they have it and make the most impact. Having abilities that come back on a short rest is great when your game incorporates reasonable number of those short rests. But those abilities might have less total uses than those that recharge on a long rest, particularly spell slots.
Yeah, and I don't know much about the campaign, except it's going to be a post-apocalyptic style setting. I don't know how high level it will go, or whether we're using experience points or milestone leveling, or too much about what everyone else will be playing. So I want to be able to do what I want from first level onward and just get better at it as I level. That way, if the campaign ends at 4th level, I still got to play my character, and if it goes to high levels, I have somewhere to go with it as the adventure gets more difficult. In order to start out doing what I want to do, I'm using Varied Human for my race, to get the bonus skill and feat. Since I'm playing this character soon, I'm also going to talk about the backstory for the character, which will explain and make sense of some of the choices I make beyond just the mechanical reasons. And I see this character as being part of a human community that has managed to do well after whatever disaster caused the apocalypse, but has powerful enemies nearby. I will get 2 +1 modifiers to my abilities, which I'll use on Charisma and Dexterity. A skill that I will use for Perception, and a feat which I'm going to use for the Crusher feat, which gives me +1 Constitution. And the ability to shove someone when I hit with a bludgeoning attack, 5 feet once a turn. And that's per turn, not per round. So I can use it on other people's turns if I get the opportunity. Also, if I critical hit an enemy, all attacks made against that creature have advantage until the start of my next turn, which will help my allies and help me once I get extra attack.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you said we're going to be a Hexblade Blade Master, or Battle Master, excuse me. As a Hexblade, we won't need strength for your quarterstaff, and you're going to be lightly armored, so you want dexterity. Of course, Constitution and Charisma will be your main stat. With the point buy system, we're going to drop strength, taking it to an 8. Put a 15 on dexterity, getting 16 from your racial bonus. 13 on constitution, getting 14 because of the crusher feat. 10 on both intelligence and wisdom, because you can't afford more. And what you said, the character indicates that you are reasonably smart and perceptive, although making a pact with a Hexblade means you aren't overly good with common sense or reasoning. And 15 on charisma, and it'll get boosted to 16 with the racial bonus. I imagine being a charisma-based character, you are going to set up and be the face of the party.
Yes, and I'm working that into my background as well. I'm taking the courtier background because I want to have the skills persuasion and insight, and the knowledge of noble courts will fit in well. This character is the daughter of a minor noble. I'm playing a female character because I rarely do that, and they tend to die when I do, so I'm giving it another shot. And among the nobility of her people, they settle matter with duels, but not crude duels to the death, but battles of skill using foils, which are blended rapiers, or quarterstaffs, considering these to be elegant weapons, and skill within this part of having status. Her father was a staff fighter and taught her to be skilled, but she lacked the strength to be effective. She was going to give up and begin training in fencing when a warlike entity approached her in dreams and promised her the strength she needed in exchange for her service. She accepted, half believing she imagined it. But as she grew older, she became a powerful duelist, as well as an accomplished speaker and a barrister of the law. Her patron granted her the ability to fight using her inner strength instead of muscle, and to land powerful blows. He also gave her the ability to charm or curse others, and even strike so hard that thunder would blast her foes, and gave her the ability to unleash blasts of pure power. She, however, made sure to keep these later abilities secret. As a young woman, she was assigned to a group of diplomats who were sent to negotiate a peace with a hostile nation. However, on the orders of her patron, she secretly sabotaged the negotiations, leading to war. Her nation suffered greatly from the war, and out of guilt, she renounced her position at court and put herself in exile. This angered her patron, who wanted her one day to rule the nation, and as a punishment to her, he commanded her to seek out conflict wherever she could find it, and never having peace for long. She tries to find situations where she can use her violence to help others, but her patron often meddles in her plans.
That's a pretty detailed, but sounds like an interesting character to play. With that conflicted angst that people associate with Warlock, and shows that Pact isn't just free power. So are you starting as Hexblade?
Yeah, for the early levels.
Okay. Well, since you already have Persuasion and Insight from Courtier, you should take Deception and Intimidation from Warlock and to fill out your social skills. You also mentioned Cursing, Charming, and Energy Blast, as well as Thunderous Strike. Eldritch Blast gives you energy attack, and Booming Blade covers the Thunderous Strike ability. You also get Pact Magic learning 2 spells and getting a spell slot to use them. Charm Person can cover the Charming, and a Hex will cover the Cursing, also making you stronger in a fight. Hexblade's Curse will also give you more cursing ability, letting you curse a creature within 30 feet once per rest, getting extra damage equal to your proficiency modifier on them, and critically hitting them on a 19 or 20. And if they die, you gain hit points equal to your charisma bonus plus your warlock level. It lasts for 1 minute and ends early if the subject dies or you are incapacitated. You also get Hex Warrior, letting you channel your inner strength to fight using charisma instead of strength. Strength with your quarterstaff. You can do this with any martial or simple weapon that lacks the two-handed proficiency, which includes quarterstaff, even if you wield it two-handed. Combined with the Crusher Feat and Booming Blade, this describes the power you were granted by your patron. You also gain proficiency with martial weapons, shields, and medium armor, but it doesn't sound like we'll be using any of these.
No. I'll be using studded leather at first level. I could get slightly better armor class by using medium armor at first level, but my dex is high enough that I don't need to. And at higher level, I'll be giving up armor altogether. If someone wanted, they could save a few points on dexterity and take a 14, and use breastplate or half-plate. It would work great, but it's not how I see this character. I will be using quarterstaff for several reasons that will be apparent at higher levels, but for now, it does a d8 damage used two-handed, and is bludgeoning, so it works with a Crusher Feat, and that's all I need right now. There aren't really any better weapons. I could go with a Warhammer and Shield at this level, but we'll want to change later anyway, and it's not how I see this character. I won't need a ranged weapon because of Eldritch Blast, so that's all I really need for equipment. Well, also an arcane focus for casting. I think I'll use a metal orb with the symbol of my patron on it that was given to me as a token of our pact. I'll wear it on a shackle on my wrist, representing my bondage to the Hexblade. I can also use my staff as an arcane focus if I like.
The trick you mentioned from the other video, for people who haven't watched it, is to hit opponents with Booming Blade doing melee attack damage, with a melee attack, excuse me. And if it hits, it does damage as a normal attack, and if the victim moves before the start of your next turn, they take a d8 thunder damage. Combining this with the Crusher feat ability to knock someone back 5 feet means that they have to move to attack you unless they have a reach weapon, or reach themselves, or they take that thunder damage. They also have to move to attack any of your allies if you push them in the right spot. This is the start of your battlefield controlling. I assume we will get more later. Also, with only one spell slot and one use of your curse per rest, I can see what you mean about resource management.
Yeah, definitely. And at second level, I get invocations. And I'm going to use both to improve my Eldritch Blast, getting Agonizing Blast to add my Charisma modifier to damage, and Repelling Blast allowing me to push people 10 feet when I hit them with the blast. Give me another way to position my enemies. I also get another spell known, and Hexblade adds shield to our list, and I want it. It's a difficult spell for Warlocks because it uses one of our precious spell slots, but it's too good not to have. I would have taken it at first level, but unless I'm in a roleplay situation where I would use Charm Person, I wanted that one spell slot for Hex. I also get another spell slot here, making it easier to justify one for using shield. But I can't use it like a wizard or sorcerer whenever I need to stop an attack. I only have the one slot if I've already cast Hex, so I have to make sure it's a very important attack to stop. Say a really powerful enemy or something with multiple attacks.
At third level, you get your Pact Boom. I assume we're going with the Pact of the Blade. You can conjure any melee weapon you want, so you could use a maul if you like, even though it's two-handed, because Hex Warrior works with any packed weapon, but I assume you'll be sticking with your quarterstaff. Also, if you have a magical weapon, say a +1 quarterstaff, you can turn it into your packed weapon and conjure it whenever you need it. You also get another spell known, and it can be from second level. Mirror Image is great, defensive spell, and won't compete with Hex for concentration, but it does compete with spell slots, obviously. If it were me, I would use Hex if I have one strong enemy, and Mirror Image if I was fighting in a group.
I agree. I also like Misty Step, but other than that, there aren't a lot of spells at this level that help with what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
At fourth level, I get an ability boost or a feat, and I'm sticking with feats to take Polearm Master. This is why we stuck with Quarterstaff for so long.
Yeah.
First, this gives me a bonus action attack with the half of the staff for a d4 damage, which is great. But the reason we're here is it gives an attack of opportunity against someone entering my reach. Earlier, I mentioned that Crusher can be used on other people's turn. So if someone enters my reach, I can make an attack of opportunity and knock them back 5 feet. This would be extra good if I can push them into a spot where it would be bad for them to keep moving. Such as a place where they would provoke an attack of an opportunity from one of my tankier allies, or into difficult or dangerous terrain. I also get another spell known, and I'll take Misty Step. I also get another cantrip, and I'm taking Defense. It will do most of what I would use Charm Person for and save me the spell slot. At fifth level, I'm taking the last Warlock level for a while, in order to get another invocation. And I'm taking Thirsting Blade to get extra attack, giving me 3 counting the bonus attack from Polearm Master, although I'll frequently be using Booming Blade instead. It improves at this level, dealing a d8 to creatures I hit, and 2d8 if they move. My Eldritch Blast also improves, giving me 2 rays. Later, when I get extra attack from a fighter, I will trade this for a different invocation. I also get another spell known, and it can be third level. I'm going to take Summon Shadow Spawn. Normally, I wouldn't consider summons to be battlefield control, but this is one for a few reasons. First, as I mentioned earlier, I can shove my enemies into allies, forcing them to provoke attacks or opportunities they try to come at me. And while my tanky fighter or paladin buddy will expect this and maybe even appreciate it, as that's where they want their enemies to be, my other allies won't be so understanding. But now I can push them into a fiend from the Shadowfell and let them deal with it. There are 3 types of Shadow Spawn that all have their uses, but the one I want most is Despair. It has an ability that slows the movement of anyone but me by 20 feet that starts their turn within 5 feet of the Shadow Spawn, potentially hampering a lot of enemies. And it, like all Shadow Spawn, has a Scream attack that can make any creature within 30 feet of it save or be frightened of it. Just remember that both of those abilities can affect my allies, so I'm going to position myself and my Shadow Spawn carefully. This lasts for a minute and uses concentration. The Shadow Spawn also gets stronger as my spell slots get higher level.
Yeah. So now we'll be going into Fighter for a while at 6th level. We will take our first level of Fighter, getting Second Wind, giving you a little healing, so also recharging on a short rest, so remember to use it. You will also get a fighting style, and you should take great weapon fighting, which will work with any weapon that you can use two-handed, even if it doesn't have the two-handed or heavy properties. This also will help your damage a lot. At 7th level, we'll be taking our 2nd level of fighter, getting Action Surge. This lets us take an extra action, getting an attack action for 2 more attacks, or a cast action to throw a spell or a cantrip, and then take an attack, or even cast a spell and use a cantrip, or take the dodge or disengage action. Even with this, you can only cast 1 leveled spell per turn, and it doesn't give an extra bonus action, so you can't use your bonus attack with your quarterstaff. This also recharges on a short rest. At 8th level, we're taking 3rd level of fighter. We get our martial art type, and you said we're taking battle master, so this is going to get fun here. You get 4 superiority dice, which are d8s, and you can spend on maneuvers. These also recharge on a short rest, so this plays well with your resource management strategy. Use them when they will have the most impact. We get 3 maneuvers, take trip attack, causing a creature you hit to take a superiority die in extra damage and make a strength save or be knocked prone. Also, for stronger enemies, take menacing attack, dealing a superiority die in extra damage and forcing them to make a wisdom save or be frightened of you until the end of your next turn. You have a ton of advantages against enemies that are frightened of you. And lastly, we'll take riposte. It lets you spend a superiority die to make an attack against someone who misses you, giving not only more damage, but another opportunity to shove people around. Your save DC for maneuvers are going to be 8 plus your proficiency, plus your dex or strength, your choice. Obviously going dex, since you are attacking with charisma, you might ask your DM if you can use it instead on your DC. So it's a DM call at that point.
Yeah, and that's exactly the sort of thing I'm going for. Mm-hmm. And at 9th level, I'm going to take the 4th level fighter for yet another feat, taking Warcaster. It lets me attack with my hands full, but I don't need that. But it also grants me advantage on concentration checks, which I definitely need. Mm-hmm. But why I'm taking this is that it lets me make attacks of opportunity with a single target spell. In my case, I'm going to use cantrips, because I don't have any single target spells I would really want to use, and because I'm trying to conserve spell slots. Booming Blade is preferred, as it lets me use the Crusher feat to push them, also which is great with Polearm Master, because anyone who comes in my reach gets an attack of opportunity with Booming Blade, getting pushed back 5 feet, and having to take damage if they want to come back. It will also go great with Eldritch Blast, as when you use 2 beams, as long as we only target them at the one person, and push them back 10 feet. The riposte maneuver works like an attack of opportunity, but unlike Polearm Master, it doesn't say it is an attack of opportunity. But I'm going to ask the DM. He should be okay with Warcaster working with it, since it fits the rule of cool, but I will warn him that it can be a powerful thing to do. Yeah. At 10th level, I'll take 5th level fighter, getting extra attack. For now, that isn't useful since we have Thirsting Blade, but it'll be helpful next level. And at 11th, I'm hopping back to Warlock for 6th level, mostly to retrain Thirsting Blade for Armor of Shadows, which lets me cast Mage Armor without using a spell slot, so I can have it up all the time, even during a long rest, thanks to its 8-hour duration. This will be a small armor upgrade and finally give me the look I've been going for. I also get another 3rd level spell known, and I want Enemies Abound. We used this in our last video, and it works great, making enemies unable to tell friend from foe and having to attack whoever is closest. This will help me with my plan of controlling the turn for fight. From Hexblade, I get the Cursed Spectre ability, which adds another strong summons to my arsenal. Conjuring a spectre from one enemy that I've killed. Unlike most of my abilities, this only recharges on a long rest. But if not killed, it also lasts until I finish a long rest, so I can get a lot of use out of it. And specters are pretty strong, even at this level. Yeah. I'm also going to retrain Charm Person. It probably isn't seeing much use anymore, especially since I have the Friends cantrip. I'm taking Protection from Evil and Good instead. I'm probably fighting a lot of these types of enemies by now, and it's great against them. Yeah. Also, my cantrips get better at this level.
So at 12th level, we're going back to Fighter for 6, getting an ability boost, and you better take it on your charisma because it is pretty low for this level, making it 18. It will help with your spell and melee attacks and save DCs, also making you overall better. At 13th level, we're taking 7th level of Fighter. You get 2 more maneuvers. Use the first to take Commanding Presence for an out-of-combat situations. It allows you to add superiority die to Persuasion, Intimidation, and Performance checks. You use Intimidation and Persuasion a lot, so this will become handy. Also take Pushing Attack. You can spend a superiority die to push someone you hit 15 feet. This is a big upgrade from the Crusher feat, and it also adds the die to your damage. Booming Blade uses a melee attack, not a spell attack, so you can use maneuvers with it, and since it deals 2d8 on a hit and 3d8 if they move, this can really mess up an enemy. At 14th level, we take 8th level of Fighter, getting ability boost, and we're going to use that to cap off Charisma.
And that will be my last level of Fighter for a while. Last level of Fighter. I'm going to finish out with Warlock. At 15th level, I'll take 7th level Warlock for another invocation, and I like Devil Sight. My weak human eyes have been relying on torches for too long, so 120 feet of dark vision sounds great, and lets me see through magical darkness. I also get another spell known, and it can be 4th level, as are my spell slots. I like Blight. A good area of effect attack will round out my abilities, and with my charisma capped, it'll be pretty reliable. At 16th level, I will take 8th level Warlock, getting another ability boost, and I'll put this one on Constitution. My hit points aren't great, and I could use better Constitution saves. I also get another 4th level spell known, and I want Ralotham's Psychic Lance. It does good damage and forces the subject to make an intelligence save or be incapacitated until the start of my next turn. Incapacitated is bad, and this can end some encounters. Then at 17th level, I'll take 9th level Warlock. I get another invocation, and I'm going to take Eldritch Smite, which allows me to smite like a paladin, spending a spell slot to deal 1d8 extra force damage on an attack, plus 1d8 per level of spell slot. My spell slots are now 5th, so that's 68 extra damage. It's not the most efficient use of the spell slot, but it'll get the job done when it's needed. I also get a 5th level spell known here. I'm taking Synaptic Static. It's an area of effect that deals 8d6 psychic damage, and enemies who fail an intelligence save subtract an e6 from attacks, ability checks, and concentration checks. Another spell that can win fights. My cantrip's also improving in here.
Since you are finishing with Warlock, you take 10th level Warlock here at level 18. Sadly, you don't get another spell here, but you'll get another cantrip. Take Mind Sliver would be a good choice at this level. It will do 46 psychic damage, and on a failed intelligence save, the creature subtracts a d4 from its next saving throw it makes. The damage doesn't come close to Eldritch Blast, but it's still good against someone with high armor class that you might be having trouble hitting, especially since there are many things with high armor class and weak on intelligence saves. The penalty to saving throws is also a real good asset there. From Hexblade, we will get Armor of Hexes. When a target of your Hexblade curse hits you with an attack, you have a 50% chance to have it miss instead. And since your cursed target will likely be the toughest thing on the battlefield, this is perfect. At 19th level, we'll take 11th level of Warlock, getting Mystic Arcanum, which is a 6th level spell you can cast once a day without using a spell slot. Since you have a bit of summoning already, let's take a good one and let's take Summon Fiend. Unless you summon a demon, devil, or Yugoloth. The stat blocks of the spell description, they are all good and different in different things, but the Yugoloth is our best fiend, and it's a great hit point, strong attacks, and can use teleport. However, if you are facing a flying enemy, the devil has the fly speed and a range attack. Also, like it can see through magical darkness. You also get a 3rd level spell slot here. At 20th level, we're taking our 12th level of Warlock. You get your last ability boost, and you can. It's kind of a toss-up between Dexterity and Constitution. If the DM doesn't let you use Charisma for your maneuver DCs, then Dex will be more important. You get your last invocation, and definitely take Life Drinker. It adds your Charisma modifier to your necrotic damage to all attacks with your packed weapon, which includes the bonus attack from your Polearm Master and all of your attacks of opportunity.
Yeah, I love this character, and I'm very excited to play it. I like the flavor of it, and I like that I'm going to have to play very strategically, which will be fun. And I hope you've all enjoyed it too. I've been adding a list of cool magic items for our builds lately, but this is already running long. However, a Rod of the Pack Keeper would be great, and something like a ring or a cloak to boost armor, and a magical staff. Even a +1, but a Staff of Striking would be amazing. We hope to see you next time, and we're doing a straight moon druid with a few interesting tricks. If you have any questions or comments or build ideas, please leave them in the comment below. That being said, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.